Devin Haney, f you, let's fight. Devin Haney next. Devin Haney and Bill Haney. New York, stand up, baby. We here, baby.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Things just got hectic for Devin the Dream Haney. This might be a nightmare, as Richardson HItchins just had a title defense against a mutual opponent, did very good. I will break that down a little bit in this video and let you know what I think about Richardson HItchins calling out Devin Haney to run the fade. So that's what we're going to discuss in this video. If you want to hear about a HItchins Haney fade, squabble up. Squabble up. You've come to the right place. So let's get unpacked. Now, I made a video. You need to check it on the channel so you don't miss out. See, my thing is this. There's a lot of low quality content available in boxing. A lot of people that A, don't know what they're talking about. B, don't know what they're talking about. C, you have content creators who are lazy, so they just try to rush something out. It's not really anything to think about, nothing to digest or knowledge or process. Just, oh, let me put out a quick 2-3 minute video, blah, blah, blah. And it's not really much. No editing, no nothing, right? I took my time with the video per usual. It's called Richardson HItchins versus George Kambosos. What really happened? Make sure you guys subscribe. If you like that content, let me know by watching it, sharing it, liking it, subscribing. I'm trying to give y'all the heat that you deserve. You know, less clickbait, less bloated intros and outros, and we really get straight to the money. So check out that video. I advise you to do that. Cliff notes. Richardson HItchins just fought George Kambosos, and he looked very sharp. Now, I don't know what the haters can say because HItchins did the thing. Fundamentals were there. He had some hand speed, size. He looked like he was filled out at 140. You know, I don't know exactly how he makes weight. Back looked kind of strong, kind of big. And he just really bullied George Kambosos. And what I really liked is I'm old school. My mindset is old school. I think when I see a young fighter who's of a certain age group and they're using fundamentals like a jab, that makes me proud. I like that. Larry Holmes had an amazing jab. And yet, this is the first punch when you get to the punching part of boxing training, really the first punch that they teach you. Yet, there's a lot of fighters who they either have it and don't employ it or don't have one, you know, or whatever the case is, or don't know when to use it, whatever. So it's always refreshing for me to see young fighters using the jab. Richardson HItchins definitely did it. There were points in this fight where Kambosos was getting hit flush with back-to-back jabs, right? I don't remember the round. It was probably shortly before he got knocked out. It was later, let's say the second half of the fight. I want to say round 7, maybe round 6. Richardson HItchins popped Kambosos with like probably 3 hard jabs, like pop, pop, pop. You know what I mean? And Kambosos' head was on the center line. He wasn't moving. And if HItchins threw 3, he landed 3. Right? And it was weird because it was like target practice, so much to the point where Richardson HItchins, he kind of like made this like look almost like he felt bad for Kambosos. It was extremely weird. He almost looked like you just gonna let me hit you with that? Because he was like bop, bop, bop. And then he landed all 3 of them. And he was just like, I don't know if he was looking at Kambosos' corner like, you guys should really consider stopping this. But he almost looked disappointed. Like, are you in the fight anymore? You just going to let me pop you with these jabs and you ain't got nothing for it? You ain't going to move your head in the slightest? So that was kind of a weird moment for Kambosos. And when I see reaction time and stuff like that, and it seems to go away, that's kind of a sign where a fighter needs to perhaps retire. That's just my honest opinion. But he's a grown man. He can decide what he wants to do. Now, let's get to the Devin Haney portion. I can't say anything bad about Hitchins and how he looked. He looked very good, very sharp, fundamentally sound. And let me add this. I want to add this because it's been in the news a lot lately. Turkey has said for his events, ring and Riyadh season events, he's no longer going to tolerate running and people who are like doing the cat and mouse, Tom and Jerry thing. He wants to see real fights and aggressive fights where it looks like both people are trying. I got future videos coming about because the way he went about it, a bit weird to me. However, Turkey said what he said. He's putting up the bread. It is what it is, right? That's the reality of it. So with that being said, since that is a hot topic in boxing right now, it was refreshing to again see a young fighter like Richardson HItchins, where some people, especially early in his career, they questioned Hitchens' power. Like, does he have stop you power? Because he's always been a great kind of pure boxer. But what was displayed with George Kambosos, who is tough, is poise, composure, confidence, and a killer instinct, which is void in some other fighters like Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. That is, those fighters have been criticized for certain performances. Like, you don't have that kill switch. So it was nice to see Richardson HItchins, who's clearly came from the Mayweather gym, was with Mayweather Promotions, now with Eddie Hearn, and he's a student of the game. And you see he's working on his boxing, and he's sharp. He's an amateur turned pro, so he had an amateur career and everything. But it is good to see that he didn't just go all the way amateur, that he's working on his pro style, if you know what I mean, right? Some guys are amateurs and they're very decorated, but then when it comes to the pro game, like in the pro game, they're not the same. Like in the pro game, some of these fighters there's a level of timidity, right? And they're not going to go for the kill. They're not going to overextend themselves. And I'm not saying you should fight like a dummy or try to get knocked out. I mean, that's dumb. So I would never suggest somebody fight like a maniac and, just slug it out and rock'em sock'em robot. However, I do believe you could be a pure boxer, and if you know what you're doing, you can have very fun fights, right? This new generation it's like they're watch old Mayweather tapes and they're trying to box with the finesse and walk on water without getting wet, but they're not taking certain risks and their defense is not up to par. So they don't have the same confidence. Like Floyd Mayweather was in there with killers in front of them, bigger guys, older Floyd, younger opponents that were bigger and supposed to be stronger. And he was on the ropes without a care in the world. He's in there with southpaws, fast guys, Zab Judah, Pacquiao, rugged, durable guys like Maidana, all-around Hall of Famers like De La Hoya and Shane Mosley, right? And he's fighting all these styles and he makes them look the same way. Canelo Alvarez when he was undefeated, right? But a lot of these younger fighters, it's not the same. I can't quite put my hand on it. It's like they care about the image and they don't know how to, they don't have the kill switch. That's what I'm gonna call it, kill switch. They don't know how to turn it up and turn it on. Like when you have a dead man in front of you, that's what we call it, is like a dead man is a person who's not really presenting much danger. They're just round by round, barely getting off the stool, that's a dead man, right? You have a dead man who is not really presenting any danger. Now, that doesn't mean, again, as I said earlier, it does not mean you fight like a dang fool and fall asleep at the wheel and get knocked out. I'm not talking about that. However, there is a way, if you're like that, to scientifically break the person down and really force a stoppage. Like, I'm not expecting maybe a pure boxer to get flat out KOs, but you could make it to the point where this person is taking too many punches, they are bewildered, they're getting tired, and you can get and force a TKO. But that seems to be a lost art that a lot of these new fighters, they don't really have, right? Like, you'll have a Shakur Stevenson fight. It's not that he's doing horrible. He's doing some impressive things in there, but it's void of that kill switch, right? Where he'll have Robson Conceição, Oscar Valdez, maybe drop him, maybe hurt him like he did Artem Harutyunyan. But he doesn't know how to close the show, right? In my opinion, Shakur Stevenson, we could look at his resume. He has faced some guys that are less experienced than a guy like George Kambosos, and Shakur will box them, but then he won't be able to get the stoppage, right? Like Artem Harutyunyan, I understand not being able to stop Edwin De Los Santos, so we'll give him a pass. The Yoshino fight was like a mercy stoppage for me, but you couldn't stop Robson Conceição, Valdez, you know what I mean? Nakathila. Like, some of these guys, if they were to fight a tank, I mean, there's no way Nakathila is seeing the final bell. You know what I mean? Same thing with Devin Haney. Devin looked pretty sharp versus Regis Prograis, and he was having his way with him, but he didn't know how to close the show. Regis looked horrible in that fight. I was there live. He looked horrible. He looked like he had two left feet, uncoordinated, flat-footed. His legs didn't look great. He didn't really have great bounce. It looked like almost like he had like a leg or knee injury. He looked very stiff, right? He was shorter. He's older than Devin Haney. And Devin didn't know how to close the show. Ryan Garcia, Devin didn't know how to really, all he did was show heart. You know what I mean? He didn't know how to war back, to hurt Ryan Garcia and, you know, achieve a victory or whatever. Then his fight with Jose Ramirez, I think, is the most recent example of that, where Ramirez really wasn't doing much and Devin Haney seemed very timid of Jose Ramirez. So we'll see what's next. Richardson HItchins wants to fight Devin Haney. I think that's a cool fight. My thing is this, I don't know. I'm not Turkey, so I don't know what he's willing to put money up for. I think here's the danger with Richardson HItchins and Devin Haney. I personally like the fight, but I'm also a hardcore boxing head with the boxing channel that makes money in boxing. So I personally, listen close, I personally do not have a problem with the fight at all. I like Hitchins and Devin Haney. That's a cool fight to me. However, I will say this, with Turkey being on this rampage about small rings and no running, Devin Haney and Richardson HItchins has the potential to be a very fun fight or a very boring fight. And I'm not saying that like the racists say boring. I'm saying it really could be boring, right? Like Robert Easter and Rances Bartholomew, where you have two guys who are both trying to think and do some things. No one's trying to get embarrassed. Nobody's trying to make the wrong move. So no one's really taking the lead, and it just becomes an abysmal fight of, I want you to make a mistake, but you're fighting pretty put together and not making a mistake for me to capitalize on. You're not fighting me reckless like some reckless come forward brawler. So certain fights like that can be very good or very bad. I had worries about Usyk versus Fury because I think that was another fight where I'm like, this could be a fight that's dull, but they both brought it in both of the fights. So those were cool fights. But anytime you have two thinkers and two people who are pretty responsible in the ring, sometimes it becomes a lackluster affair. And the other thing is you have Hitchins and Devin Haney. I don't know if they have hella power, so they might not be able to push for the stoppage. So that's my only forecast for that fight. But other than that, I would like to see it. I'm not mad at the call out. After the performance in Hitchins' victory over mutual opponent George Kambosos, Devin Haney tweeted this, and he said that we could get it at 147. So he was called out by Richardson HItchins, and he's saying we can fight at 147 welterweight. Now, I got a couple problems with this. The Haney content creators will not tell you this. If you like to be lied to, then deal with the Haney content creators. If you want fair and objective boxing talk with integrity and objectivity, you come to the right place. The Haney content creators, I repeat, they're not going to keep it real. Further proof of this is, for example, Bill Haney was being asked by media, he went to this fight, Hitchins versus Kambosos. This is a mutual opponent, and it seemed like they were rooting for Kambosos because obviously that's what fighters do. If Kambosos were to beat an up-and-coming person and a champion that is perceived as good as Richardson HItchins is or can be, then that bolsters and boosts Devin's resume, right? So the whole promotion, Kambosos and Team Haney seem buddy-buddy, right? There was a moment where Richardson HItchins told Kambosos, bro, I'm going to stop you. I ain't Devin Haney. This ain't Devin Haney. And then Kambosos was like, Bill, he thinks he's better than your son. Da-da-da-da-da. He thinks he's better than Devin. Blah, blah, blah. So we know that the Haneys wanted Kambosos to win/look good, because if he did that and they conquered him twice, guess what? It would inadvertently make them look good. But that's not what happened. In fact, what did happen, again, the Haneyaks and the Haney content creators will not tell you this. Richardson HItchins did way better than Devin Haney. Devin Haney had 24 rounds to beat Kambosos, and I don't even know if he dropped him. I know he didn't stop him. I never went back to the fights because they weren't worth me watching again. But I don't even think he dropped him. He did bloody him up in the second fight, but you had Haney, who had more time to, 24 rounds. You had Kambosos, and he gets stopped and dropped, and he was hurt badly in round 5 versus Hitchins. So if we're just going performance versus performance, Hitchins did better with Kambosos than Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez. Lomachenko, he was the first to stop Kambosos, so he's cool. But he's retired anyway, so that's why I don't really have much to say about Loma. So you would think that if the Haneys wanted to keep it real, they would keep it real. So anyway, the media is following Bill Haney. The video's up on YouTube. You guys can find it. And they're like, "Oh, what'd you think about Richardson HItchins?" And he was like, "Man, he got hit hella times." Huh? What? Bro, that's what I'm saying. This is the Haneyaks' Lord and Savior, the Haneys. And this is what they do. They're not even willing to keep it real. They're not keeping it real with what they seen. To suggest that Richardson HItchins was getting tagged up and hit a bunch of times, I don't know what fight you were watching, bro. I really don't. Richardson HItchins literally won every single round convincingly, hurt him in the 5th round, and closed the show by the 8th round via body shot stoppage. Yet you have Bill Haney, who is putting out some kind of narrative that it was a good fight, but Hitchins was getting tagged. I mean, these are the people that the Haneyaks want to trust. For me, it's such a bad look, because as a man, somebody keeping it real is to be respected. You don't have to like somebody to keep it real with somebody. Like, let's say there's someone I didn't like and they did a movie and I went to see the movie and it was a good movie, right? Guess what? I would give them credit. You look like more of a hater when you're nitpicking or, not being lied. You aren't being truthful and you're lying to try to save face. That just makes you look worse. And that's exactly what Bill Haney did. He was making it sound like Hitchins was at some point getting beat up and touched up by Kambosos. Stop it. He lost every round and got stopped. Hitchins did better than your son. Period. Now you see why the Haneyacks don't want to talk about this type of stuff. Again, I don't like when people insult my intelligence. I know what I've seen. Hitchins looks sharp. Just give him credit. Like, I wouldn't even be mad if Team Haney says, you did good versus Kambosos, but Devin will whoop you. You know what I mean? Because that's just fighter trash talk. You're supposed to be confident in yourself. But when there's a third party and because Devin fought Kambosos, you want Kambosos to look good, so you're going to make it like he was doing something with Hitchins. That's doing too much, bro. And you're not being truthful. People aren't going to respect that. So hopefully they could get it on and Hitchins can fight against Devin. The other thing I have to talk about, because again, only on my channel are you going to get the unadulterated truth when it comes to these topics. The Haneyat content creators aren't going to keep it real in such a way and tell you some of this stuff. The other thing I didn't like is this. We had gotten wind from Eddie Hearn, Jerron Boots Ennis' promoter, that he's moving up to 154. Devin has never, ever confirmed that he's moving to the full 147. In fact, his fight with Jose Ramirez was held at a catch weight of 144. Before he even came back, after he lost to Ryan, he posted, when I come back, I'm going to fight at whatever weight I want to, 144 or whatever. So it looked like he was staying true to that because he came back and he fought Ramirez at 144. Now you have a champion at 140 pounds. You just fought Jose Ramirez at 144, but now Devin Haney is like, yeah, we can fight at 147. Huh? How does that make any sense, bro? Let's do it again. Jerron Boots Ennis, pretty much it's announced that he's moving to 54. Now all of a sudden you claim 147 pounds, the welterweight division, whereas you had never came out and said, hey, I need my fights at 147. It was assumed, but you never just like put it on wax like that. That's strike one. Strike two is you just came from 140. You just came from a catchweight fight of 144 with Jose Ramirez. Now you have a champion who just called you out in a viral clip. You're with pretty much the same people. And you say you don't care about the small ring size, skills pay the bills. Why do you want him to jump up 7 pounds when he really should be able to jump from 140 to 144 and be met on the same terms as Jose Ramirez? So this looks highly suspicious from the Haneys. Listen to what I'm saying. I can't be beat. My logic, my math is mathing. Jose Ramirez, former champion at 140. You give him the luxury of making the fight at 144 for whatever reason. He was coming directly off of a loss where he didn't look good versus Arnold Barboza. Why does he get the catch weight of 144 coming from 140, right? But now that you got that in the bank, right, and you have these crazy snack rehydrations where you gain 20, 30 pounds or whatever overnight, now you're telling Richardson HItchins he got to come up to the full 147 as the 140-pound champion, and you did it only after Jerron Boots Ennis left. Why he got to come up to the full 147, but you didn't make Ramirez come at the 147? If anybody deserves the Devin Haney shot, it would be HItchins. He looked great. He fought Liam Paro and took the belt from him, right? He did title defense, and he looked very sharp and had a mutual opponent and looked better. So for real, he has more momentum than you. Devin Haney didn't look good in his last fight per most people. Actually, his last two fights, because the other one was Ryan Garcia. So why are you mandating that he come up from 147? Like, now you see the gimmick. Now you see the gimmick. Devin Haney wants to fight at the full-fledged 147 and bring a man up 7 pounds, but then he was willing to fight a guy, Jose Ramirez, who I told you before the fight has been looking worn, and he had a lot of mileage on him. You're willing to fight him closer to 140 to quote-unquote accommodate him, but then you won't accommodate Africa, Richardson HItchins. You want him to move full up, right? With probably no tune-ups if they fight next. So he just got to move up. I don't like that. And then why are you only claiming welterweight when we find out Jaron Boots Ennis is no longer going to be in the division, right? Why weren't you calling out Jaron Ennis? So you can see there's a real strategy here from the Haneys, right? Regis Prograis, he looked horrible in his fight before Devin Haney, right? He fought Zorilla at home, got dropped in the first round, and arguably lost, right? He was clearly outboxed by that dude, right? That's when Devin Haney chose to fight him, the very next fight. And then he outweighed him the night of the fight in his first fight at 140. Then he fights Ryan Garcia. He gets got. I mean, I'm not going to rehash that whole story. You know what happened. That was a high-profile fight. Takes a year off, comes back, fights a guy off of a loss, Jose Ramirez, and then he's at 140. You make him come up to 144 when you were just at 140. Why didn't you fight Jose Ramirez at 140? You just made the weight for Ryan. Ryan was a contracted 140 fight, and you made it. So why didn't you do that for Jose Ramirez? You know, make the sacrifice. So you knew Jose Ramirez hadn't been looking good, and it would be plus 4 pounds, right? And it was a boring fight. And then now you're claiming welterweight, like I said, when Boots clearly left the division and telling Africa to move up 7 pounds to fight you when he could just fight at the same weight that you just fought Ramirez at. Like, why the different rules for him? Because one person, in my opinion, is coming from 140 and deserves the fight, right? You really should be fighting at 140, you know, and he has a belt. Devin Haney ain't a champion anymore. You know, why you get to call all the shots? You know what I mean? You're not coming off of great performance. Your last 2 performances weren't good. So how you get to mandate everything and pick the weight and all that? He's a champion. You're not. He has momentum. You don't. You know? So you can see the games that the Haneys are playing, and it's real strategic. And then to boot, like I said earlier, Kambosos did nothing with HItchins, and they try to make it look like HItchins was getting tagged, or at least Bill Haney did. I'm not understanding this. It's looking real suspect, but we'll see if they fight. Hopefully they do, you know, come to terms. Maybe Turkey can step in and pick the weight, because Turkey has the ability, because he's paying the money, so he has the ability to kind of broker the deal and kind of force some options. Like, hey, I want you to fight, but you're fighting at a catch weight. So I hope Turkey get gangster and you know, make this fight at a catch weight, because I don't understand why a champion has to move up 7 pounds when you haven't even moved up. Devin doesn't have one fight at 147. So why does it have to take place there? You just did a catch weight. Not to mention, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I tell you the Haney content creators, they're fake. They had Tank when he fought Ryan Garcia, Bill Haney, they were saying, and Devin, they were doing interviews saying that it was like a phony fight because of weight clauses, right? Oh, how could Tank do that? It shouldn't count, blah, 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 because plus 1 pound, 136 catch weight, and a rehydration clause. Now all of a sudden they're like, we wish we put a rehydration clause on Ryan, and they fighting that catch weights with Jose Ramirez coming off a loss. But then now a person looked very sharp in HItchins. Then he call you out boldly, violently, ruthlessly. He's cussing and he's like, yeah, come on, da da da. Calls you out your name, the P word. Says F you, F Bill Haney. And then now you're like trying to mandate that it happens at welterweight, and you haven't even fought at welterweight. Y'all need to explain that to me. We Unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.